Adam from CleaR Motorsport here. Just going to show you around my throttle pedal extension plate for the Mazda MX-5 Mk4 ND car. This basically bolts onto the original throttle pedal and extends the width by about 25mm and also the height by the thickness of the plate, which is 3mm, just to make it much easier to do like a heel and toe downshift. Obviously the pedals are quite far spaced away from each other as standard, and I found it really tricky, and I know others have too, so hopefully this will be a useful little gadget for a few people. It's made from 3mm thick 304 stainless steel and laser cut in a factory about half a mile that way out of stainless steel that comes from Finland. I've tidied up this edge here because this is the one that your foot will be going over, just to make sure it's not sharp, and it comes supplied with all the fixings you need as well. So the top one, you'll notice, has got a washer and it has a nylock nut, so it's got the little blue insert there. The bottom one is just a plain nut and doesn't have a washer. That will become apparent shortly. So fitting is pretty straightforward. You just need some basic tools. So we've got a flat blade screwdriver, a 3mm Allen key, 10mm socket and ratchet, an 8mm socket. You may end up using, say, some small needle nose pliers at some point, but I'll show you that when you get there. And then a drill. This is a 5.5mm bit, but you can get away fine with a 5 or a 6 in Imperial. I think that's 7/32 or 7/32, however you say it. That's the nearest size. It's just to give a bit of clearance for the bolt, so you've got a bit of wiggle room on the holes. So yeah, fitting pretty straightforward. First thing to do is pop the carpet out. So you've got these two little sort of studs here, just in front of the catch for the seat. So pop these off, and that will let you get to the throttle pedal itself. Excuse the mess, my car doesn't get cleaned that often. So we've got these two caps here, number 1 and number 2. They just need to be pulled off with a flat blade screwdriver, and that'll reveal two 10mm bolts that hold the throttle pedal assembly into the car. So get your ratchet, undo these two. Sorry, the angle's not great. I've got one of those lovely mounts for a head cam, which looks absolutely stunning. Well, hopefully it's doing the job. It shouldn't take too long to get out. And then you've just got one clip on the loom there to take the throttle pedal out of the car. So all you do is push down the tab at the far right hand side, nearest where the wires go in, and then it should pull off. There we go. That's the throttle pedal out of the car. If you've got one of the ND2 cars and it makes a click like 90% of the way through the throttle travel, now is a good time to remove the clicker. It's basically a little white gadget that fits in here, and all it literally does is stop the pedal going past 90% throttle, and then it goes click and gives you the last bit of the travel and puts the car into kind of high load mode, which actually enriches the fuel and gives you different ignition timing settings, which improves the power of the car by significant amount. It's about 15 horsepower. So if the clicker has been bothering you and annoys you, feel free to whip it out at this point. It's literally just a physical thing that clicks. It's not attached to a sensor or anything like that. It's kind of strange. But anyway, so if you take off the two nuts off the back of your bolts, so make a note, the top one is your nylock one with a little blue circle in it, and then the bottom one is the plain nut that comes on and off. So your throttle pedal is your cutting guide, so your drilling guide. So you line it up with the right hand side here, and also the top there, and then get your drill. And I would do the top bolt first. Obviously I've pre-drilled my pedal, so I'm not going to be able to show you the actual drilling process, but hopefully you know how that works. Just give it a bit of pressure and straight through. And if you pop the bolt through, and on the back you'll notice that the hole is right in the middle of a triangular feature, which should give you the space to pop on the washer and also your nylock nut. Now I've got some little thin sockets here, so mine will hold while I go around the front to pop the 3mm Allen key in and nip it down. But if you haven't got one that's thin enough, you can just use some needle nose pliers or something like that. And from here, with the pedal cover in sort of position, you can line it up with the edge there, and that gives you the drilling guide for your bottom hole. Straight through again. From here, it gets a little bit trickier. Basically, hopefully you can see it on the video there, but there's some sort of vertical features running on the back of the pedal that are moulded in, and we're going to use one of those to hold the nut. But getting the nut in is tricky unless you poke your Allen key through the hole to a position that's a bit more reasonable, and then you can get your nut hopefully you can see this, onto the end of your Allen key, and then it will slide down into that channel. If you just push it into position with your finger, you should then be able to see it through the hole on the front. And if I've done this right, I'm going to buy a lottery ticket tonight because I've managed to do it first time on video, which is very unusual. You should be able to get your bolt in there and just twiddle away, and it'll pull the nut home and lock itself out. Oh, magic, there we go. Right, so that's on there now. The pedal plate itself with the bolts weighs about 174 grams. Not a weight weenie, honest, which is actually probably about the same as the rest of the pedal assembly. So I'm sorry adding weight to your car, but the additional weight and inertia actually makes it feel slightly damped when you're on the road. So if you're over like a stuttery bumps, it does seem to help keep the car a bit more settled, which is quite nice. So putting it back in the car, get the loom clip on first, just push it straight on, no need to press the tab this time. Pop that back in place. There's some obvious features that allow you to line it up, and then throw your bolts in. No need for thread lock on these, maybe a dab of grease if you want to, but I haven't bothered because it's inside the car obviously. It's not getting wet and mushy like underneath. Torque setting, technically probably about 8 to 10 Newton meters for these, but again, just a sensible little nip will be absolutely fine. 10mm ratchet. Pop your caps back in again. I think they're universal and they can go either way up, so no worries there. And then the carpet goes back in. Usually slide the front in first, and then the back edge will go down. Pop, pop. Job is a good one. So hopefully you've seen the little demonstration clip that's within this video. It just shows you how it all works. But hopefully you can see now that there's, you know, much less space between the brake and the throttle pedal, but you've still got plenty of space to get your foot in there, because obviously when you hit the brake you don't want to be speeding up. So yeah, further details on my website and eBay listing. If you've got any comments, questions, feel free to give me a shout. Thanks very much. See ya.